This Nigerian man, Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalab, 23-year-old Nigerian, the so-called Underpants bomber. And don't media love to play with, the shoe bomber, the Underpants bomber, yada, yada, yada. But if this guy was allowed to board the jet in Amsterdam, as he did, it was because at some level within either the U.S. military establishment, the U.S. intelligence establishment, the U.S. political establishment, or the U.S. corporatist establishment, the decision was made to allow him to do so, even with all the warnings. And following standard procedure, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security was notified at least an hour before departure from Amsterdam that this guy was a passenger on the flight. And Homeland Security knew that he had paid $131 cash for a ticket. They knew he was traveling with no baggage. They knew his father, a prominent Nigerian banker, visited the U.S. Embassy in the capital of Nigeria and told State Department and CIA personnel that his son had fallen under the influence of radical Islamists. They knew all this. Back in May, the British government withdrew its student visa for this guy and placed him on a watch list, barring him from re-entering the country. And yet he can get on board a Northwest Airlines jet from Amsterdam to Detroit at the last minute, try to blow it up and kill 300 people. And now the establishment in this country, media and government, are trying to tell us that, it's a failure to communicate. They just didn't connect it. God damn you people. We heard that on September 11th, 2001. You're going to run that tired lie past us again? Failed to connect the dots? Are you crazy? And apparently the only reason this guy wasn't successful is because enough people on board that jetliner saw what was happening and stopped it. Or he was these Islamic terrorists, just like Christian terrorists, they haven't figured out yet how to manufacture an adequate trigger for the stuff that they use to try to blow up airliners, right? The real failure, it says here, Patrick Martin, writing at WSWS Today, the real failure to connect the dots is the refusal to draw any conclusions from the inaction of the U.S. intelligence apparatus. Who made the decision not to act? Why did they make this decision? Was the intention that the would-be bomber succeed or fail? Was it a deliberate attempt to undermine the Obama administration? Was it a deliberate attempt to provide a pretext for further U.S. military action in the Middle East? And I like this. In the world's major intelligence agencies, the Russian FSB, British MI5, Israeli Mossad, the French SGDN, China's Second Intelligence Department, these are the questions that are being asked. Along with this question, is the Obama administration in control of its own national security apparatus? And all these global intelligence agencies undoubtedly dismiss the official U.S. account of this attempt for what it is, this Christmas Day bombing attempt for what it is, a disinformation campaign generated to delude American public opinion. Of course. Man. The Washington Post cited a family cousin quoting the warning from Abdul Muttalab's father to the U.S. government, quote, "Look at the texts he's sending. He's a security threat," end quote. Given the vast powers U.S. National Security Agency to pour through the world's email traffic amplified by the USA Patriot Act, there's little doubt that such a tip would have led quickly to the surveillance of all electronic communications by, with, or about this young Nigerian. Man, oh man, oh man. Time magazine, citing a source close to the family of the bomber, wrote that, quote, "It was an alleged threat to blow up an American plane that apparently alarmed his parents and supposedly resulted in his father going to warn the U.S. Embassy, end quote, Time magazine. What does that mean? That means that U.S. officials had warning a month ahead of time about the specific action this kid was going to take. He's going to get on a flight. He's going to blow it up. Newsweek magazine. According to Newsweek, the National Security Agency had intercepted telephone communications between this guy, this 23-year-old Nigerian, and Mohammed al-Awlaki, the radically U.S.-born Islamic cleric now living in Yemen, who had been in communication with Major Nidal Malik Hassan in the months before his assault at Fort Hood, Texas, which took 13 lives. Al-Awlaki issued a statement in November predicting a Christmas surprise, quote, quote, that would make Yemen a key arena of struggle against the United States. All of that information, and once again, you and I are being asked to be dumb little bastards and just sit here and pretend that it was a failure to connect the dots, once again. A failure to connect the dots. Well, if they just would have got on the phone to each other. No, that's not what it is at all. It's a concentrated effort inside this country to destroy this country. Period. You have any doubt? Oh, my God. Please don't sit there and have doubts about this. Don't. Don't do that to yourself. Four years before the attack on September 11, 2001, the power structure in this country was advocating such an attack, predicting it, advocating it, saying that's what we needed. And then it occurred. And we are to believe now, if we want to buy into the corporate, radical Christian nonsense that is flooding the country since this attempt on Christmas Day, we're to believe that for the past almost 9 years, no one in the intelligence / political / corporate power structure in this country has seen fit to put into place simple communications procedures that would prevent this sort of thing from happening. Is that what we're supposed to believe? Because they did connect the dots. 9 years later? Give me a goddamn break. We know what this is, or I know what it is. I don't know if you've come to any conclusions yet, but I, by damn, have come to some conclusions about this this Christmas underpants bomber Nigerian 23-year-old who just magically was able to get on an airplane in Amsterdam with no luggage, buying his ticket in cash, with a whole, dossiers on this guy all over the place about the fact that he is a radical bomb threat. But somehow he managed to get on the airplane. And some son of a bitch or a group of sons of bitches in the U.S. establishment want to convince you and me and the rest of us sheep that it was just a matter of not connecting the dots. Haven't we heard that before? Huh? Isn't that the story that was sold to us? Well, not to me, not to you, but sold to the vast majority of the American public. Isn't that the official story now of 2001, September 11, 2000? Well, it was a failure to communicate. Isn't that what it is? Failure to communicate, right? Huh? And even the people who wrote that filthy 9/11 Commission report have stated it was all lies. So here we are again. And it's going to happen again. And again and again. Until Obama is removed from office. Now, it may be until the next election. In 2012. But this is the goal. To get this guy out of here. Because he's a little bit too iffy. He's got that funny name. He has some funny upbringing. Plus, he's colored.